All right, let's head to the United States. And Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill in Washington, D.C. Thanks for coming on the program. Let's start in Afghanistan. Look, the whole situation is a mess. President Biden's plan to attack ISIS-K. How does the public feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think they do want some kind of vengeance or retribution for what has happened, what we all saw happen around the airport in Kabul. Having said that, there's not, honestly, any great American appetite for getting fully re-engaged in Afghanistan. You rightly described the situation as a mess. I think the main criticism for the American public right now is the execution of the withdrawal, which has been a shambles, quite honestly, and a damaging one for President Biden.
It's been absolutely shambolic. He's dropped the ball extraordinarily. And I think most people looking from all around the world are saying, how could you have not known that this was going to go this way?
Yeah, and I mean, I think there really are hard questions to answer there. And those kind of concerns, which, as you say, are heard globally, are not confined in this country purely to Republicans or to critics of President Biden. I spoke with a Democratic Congress person a few days ago who was calling for people to be fired or wanted people to be held accountable. I've had Democratic strategists on the phone to me lamenting what a mess this has been. So I think the question that you raise about how could this not have been known is a vital question, as is just the chaos that has ensued amid this withdrawal.
And it's not all on Joe Biden's head either, because the previous administration went through the majority of this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, President Trump made a deal with the Taliban, and that deal called for American troops to be fully withdrawn. In fact, slightly earlier than this, they were to be withdrawn in May under Trump's schedule. So the argument for people who still back Trump is that, as I say, it's the execution that's the problem rather than the timeline for the withdrawal. But, you know, there's a lot of blame to go around, a lot of finger pointing happening here in Washington. As always happens in politics when things go wrong, there's a lot of people trying to say, I had nothing to do with that, and put the blame on someone else.
They're extremely distressing, all the scenes that we're seeing in and around Kabul airport. And it's become an extra dangerous situation after what's gone on the past few days. And this next week is going to be really, really tough to watch.
I think so, unfortunately. I mean, the things that we have seen so far have been incredibly tough to watch. And I'm not just referring to the suicide bombing, but some of the other chaos that we have seen, people clinging to an American military jet, and some people unfortunately falling from it, or a baby being hoisted over razor wire. All of this stuff has been very difficult. We have American military commanders warning that there is a very strong possibility of further attacks. Obviously, President Biden's deadline is August the 31st, just days away. So we've had a lot of grim scenes so far, and the fear is that there are more to come in this remaining period.
Niall, heading more domestically to the US and the whole COVID picture, and it's been blurred, isn't it, extraordinarily by the fact that people over the past little while have been hesitant to get vaccinated, and that's where the predominant amount of illness is, that's where the majority of death is. How are we going with those that are wobbling as to whether they do get vaccinated, particularly in some of those states where the levels are so low?
It's a great question, and one that doesn't have a completely simple answer. There has been some uptick in the rate of vaccinations recently. The anecdotal evidence is that that is people who are themselves concerned about the rise and spread of the Delta variant. There's some suggestion that that variant has hit communities and neighborhoods very hard that were under-vaccinated. In saying all of that, there is a significant share of the population who appear to be adamantly opposed to being vaccinated. How we overcome that resistance among a significant share of the population is a difficult question to answer. I mean, President Biden has been making the argument for people to get vaccinated. Some states have been offering incentives for vaccination. Even President Trump at a recent rally suggested that the vaccines were good, but he got booed and heckled for his trouble when he said that. So it's a complicated situation, but it's an ominous one as the cases driven by the Delta variant continue to rise.
It's a bit of a modern issue, isn't it? Like you and I have been around the media for a long time. It's a very changed space. There's so much garbage spewing out on all forms of media with misinformation about the vaccine when the obvious and scientific and medical and epidemiologists all say these are completely safe and avoiding the illness and death that we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the media landscape has changed beyond recognition in a fairly short period of time. And that, unfortunately, gives rise to an enormous amount of either conscious disinformation, people putting out knowingly false information for their own selfish purposes, or misinformation, people just being wrong about stuff and trusting their friend on a social media platform more than they trust people who've spent their lifetime studying infectious diseases or viral diseases. I don't see, honestly, how we get around that. It's a difficult situation. And you have a broader loss of faith in authority, which I think plays into it as well.
Yeah, and it's a life or death situation. Niall, it's good to chat. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Same to you.